Everything in this universe is in constant change. Everything moves, changes, and transforms. So this area of passion that we initially get into, we are to move beyond it. We do that by moving forward out of the realm of self-esteem and into the realm of ego. What is the ego? Okay, that stick man has, through repeated experience over a long period of time, a very long period of time, begins to rise above that sheet of paper. And as he does, he can see objects around him. And with those objects are relationships. There's a distance there, space and time. There are spans and so forth. And this is the realm of the ego. It's most basically, ego is orientation. And that's all it is. It's just orientation. You orient yourself to what's going around you, and you have a bit more of an in-depth experience of self beyond self-esteem. The trap here is to identify with those other objects. Like, this is me, you know. Okay, you're standing there and you got these mountains all around you, for instance, and you can see this side of the mountain anyway. You can't see what's behind it, but you can see this side of the mountain anyway, and say, that's, you know, this is me. You know, I grew up in these mountains. This is me. It's in my blood. This is who I am. But to a certain extent, you could say that, sure. But there's more. There's much more. So to transcend is not to deny anything. We don't deny anything. We just keep moving. And that's where we move out of the realm of flat, two-dimensional experience to the beginnings of a really great three-dimensional experience of life. What this does is it further instills that that sense of self from the basis of fullness. It's where we wake up. We begin waking up from the dream. And one way that that helps us advance along is by, first of all, accepting what's going on in the moment. Like I said, you don't deny anything. You accept everything. But you also have learned discipline along the way so that you don't just go running after this and running after that and so on and so forth. You also come to intimacy with what is around you. Because you see objects separate from you, you have a chance to become intimate with those objects. And that's the real beginning of awareness, is that intimacy. In that area, we get into other words. And words like commitment, dedication, devotion, being in harmony, being in sync, so to speak. Passion will become not a thing of the past, but not so necessary, you know? It's not the be-all and end-all of existence, your passion and self-esteem. And somewhere in that three-dimensional experience, you begin to move beyond cause and effect. At the beginnings of it, you have, okay, I'm here, a mountain is there, there's space between us, and there's some things between me and the mountain, and so you got linear time and space. In a fuller experience of the three dimensions, you move beyond that to a resonance, a harmony that exists, that is not flat, but extends in all directions at once. And this is the great harmony of life. And this is where we begin to come into true experience. You can't do that by listening to other people. It has to come from within your own experience. And I think this is one of the reasons for why words are so important and why we use the proper words. One of the greater examples that I can think of at the moment is this word downsizing. It began during the Reagan administration when corporations were letting people go by the thousands. Like every month, tens of thousands of people were being laid off from their jobs. So they came up with this word, and it was called downsizing. It sounded kind of nice, you know. People want to lose weight, so they downsize. The word doesn't mean anything. And to, you know, the corporation, the building stays the same size, you know. What's really going on is they're firing a bunch of people. And people are losing their jobs. Management is firing people. They're telling them to go home and don't come back. That's what's going on. And the word downsizing is silly. Or when a person says, I've been downsized, they lost their job and say, I've been downsized. Well, you're not any shorter than you were the day before. You're still the same size. What happened was you were called into an office, probably, and someone said, a security guard is getting your things together now. You have to leave the building and don't come back. And that's what happens. That's your experience. Or that's more to your experience. You know, you're going to experience a whole lot more than that. You know, losing your job like that. So it's very important for us to examine the words that have been handed to us. Are they valid? No. The words being handed to us today are invalid. Another example is this word trailer. Okay? For movies. They make a movie and then they make this little movie, you know, to show people off. Well, maybe for the movie makers it's a trailer because they make it after they make the big, you know, feature-length film. But for us, it's a preview. It's what it used to be. It's a preview. It's not a trailer, it's a preview. And it goes on and on. The really frightening one that so very dangerous is some years ago, I think probably in the early 1970s, maybe, suddenly everywhere across the world, all at once, what was at one time called the personnel office changed to human resources. So we are accepting a term that puts us on the same level as, say, a lump of iron ore, you know, a resource to be used the way that others see fit and then discarded. You are not a resource. You're a human being. You have a soul. Look for those terms, those words that advance you out of the past and advance you from a very limited awareness to a greater awareness and an experience that is more of oneself. And therein is the soul, we call the soul. And then it goes beyond that. So we can begin with self-esteem as enthusiasm, self-esteem as interaction and passion. Then we move on to an egoistic orientation, wherein is found reason for intimacy and commitment and dedication. And then if you want to move farther beyond that into what has been termed the transcendent, learn devotion. So, I've thrown in my 2 cents. Hope you find it of some value anyway.